Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, welcome to another live this morning and hope you're having a great start to your day. We appreciate it very, very, very much. And thank you for coming on with us. And let's say hello to some friends. Before we get started this morning, Brahim, you punched the ticket number 1. Andrea, Niagara Falls. Michael, the Trinity. 1, 2, 3. Janice, right up at the top from Brampton. John, how are you? And Brahim. No, Brahim. I already said hi to you. Oh, no. Guys, we're going up into the Sandy. How are you? Lise, how are you? Kerry, Nebraska. Nina, Chatham. Grace, from the Rock, Newfoundland. Georgie, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Fran, Orangeville. Nick from our staff. And Donna, good morning from Park Hill. Jude, Troy, New York. Lori, Niagara Falls. Dan, how are you? And Sandra, Espanola. Carol, Wasaga Beach. Carmel, Newfoundland. Arlene, how are you? Yvonne from Petawawa. Sue, good morning. And Nellie, how are you? And who was that up there in West Virginia? I can't see it. Louise. I can see the bottom, but I can't see the top. Jean. And if I can't see the top, I think that's Gertie. Barbara. Kansas. Diane. Good morning. Marilyn. PEI. Laurie. Cambridge. Heather. And Carol. Mount Pearl, Newfoundland. And I didn't see it. Bruno. Bon matin. And Phyllis, how are you? Maureen from Penticton, British Columbia. Nancy from Gore's Landing. And Donna. And Rosalinda. Yeah, we're moving fast today. It's true. Keith. Bell River, how are you, Keith? Sean, how are you, my friend? And Little Britain, who is that? Mary, PEI. Couple of more guys. Leela from Verner. And Rita from Wasaga. Guys, I am going to one of these days figure out, Wendy and Wanda, figure out how to see all these names. Patricia, Crystal, and Anne. Good morning from Moncton, New Brunswick. Doc McEwen, how are you? Robin, Connecticut. Some of you I know by heart. So, Gloria, did I miss you? Carol, in the clouds. Crystal, good morning. And Janet, Thunder Bay. Okay. Now, couple of things. Just want to, for those of you in the Sudbury area, I'm going to make an announcement in terms of, I'm going to be doing a live seminar. What's the date now? October, I think, 20, if I'm not mistaken, it's October the 29th. I'll confirm that with you. And if you want to sign up for that, I will give you a venue where you can sign up to come live. And we'll be doing a seminar. I'll be doing it with a couple of colleagues. One is a pharmacist, and Rachel Rachel Roca, and Karen Hordovinko. So I'm going to be doing that, the Collège Boreal, but I'll have more information on that. Also, I am giving a course for the World Organization of Natural Medicine. I'm going to be speaking virtually on, I'm going to be giving a course. Now, I think that's at the end of October. I've got to have my my dissertation and paper ready for them. So I'll give you a little bit of heads up because I think you'll be able to tune in on that course I'm going to give at the end of October. I'll let you know exactly when I get more details. I'm just preparing that. I'm doing, well, I'm not quite sure if I'm going to do this or not, but I was thinking about teaching about the 3 seeds of disease. And we'll see if that I'm going to follow through with that actual topic. Okay, so let's go to a few more studies. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 studies that I've flagged. So let's go through them. Okay. This is an interesting article that I flagged, and it was written, and actually I actually saw this on, I'm going to say on X or Twitter, and I followed it, and then it was Robert Kennedy Jr. talking about gluten. And why we see so much, according to his research, why we're seeing so much celiac. And he's blaming it on the wheat being sprayed by Roundup. This is kind of interesting. I'm not saying he's wrong. Listen, the world has changed, and, we've got a lot of major autoimmune and much more problems like celiac and Crohn's and all sorts of digestive ulcerative colitis. I had, there was somebody on our site yesterday talking about diverticulosis. That has gone up tenfold compared to when I started in the 1970s. I mean, you have so much more digestive issues. I kind of find it interesting. I like to listen to others and what they have to say. And, Robert Kennedy Jr. is not a doctor, but he's done a lot of research. And because he's a litigator, he has taken on these big companies, including, I think, is it Bayer that owns Roundup? And I mean, he sued them for millions and millions of dollars because of their link to cancer, especially, right? And anyway, he was talking about gluten, and I used to, this is me, okay? This is me. I always said that it was gluten schmooten, okay? Just because there was so much of it, people coming in and telling me they were, they had trouble with gluten. And every time I examined that, one thing I found, I can't think of an exception, was leaky gut. I said, well, I'm not convinced it's gluten. I think it's more leaky gut and a bit, one thing about insulin is there's a lot of things happening downstream if you have high circulating insulin. Okay? What do I mean by that? Well, if you have high circulating insulin, there's a lot of things going on in the body that you might not relate to high circulating insulin, but are downstream effects of it. Okay? Kidneys, for example. A lot of kidney issues are because people have high circulating insulin or insulin resistance. That affects your kidneys. We know it affects the liver. We know it affects the pancreas. We know it affects the heart and cardiovascular disease. We know it affects the brain. And it also affects the gut. The gut. So when you get someone, and you'll hear, unless they have what they call celiac sprue, truly celiac. Okay, I understand that. And remember, if you go back 20 years ago, and maybe 15, 20 years ago, there was all these gluten-free products that came out. Still eat your bread, but it's gluten-free, right? And that used to give me a migraine because I said, you're not looking at the real problem. I said, what's happening is our body, we are consuming way too many carbs. Some people think they get away with it because they say, well, they used to say to me in my office, well, doc, I'm not a diabetic. Well, I said, yeah, but you really are. Because blood sugar is the last thing that will go out of whack. Your body's dedicated to keeping your blood sugar very, very tightly regulated. But it's what happens downstream. One of the issues is the gut. It was surprising to a lot of my patients when I put them on the reset. Okay, remember the reset originally, I have to think about it because it's been such a long time. Why did I come up with the reset, the metabolic reset? And now it's become very popular, not only my reset, but a lot of people. I mean, listen, just if you're into any kind of research and Googling, people today are talking about metabolic syndrome. I talked about it. I wrote a book about it in 2011. 2 hormones that want you dead. Remember that? Insulin and cortisol. I was talking about insulin and insulin resistance when very few people were talking about it. But what I'm saying is that downstream from the fact that we are carb loaded. Remember, your body was not made to live on carbohydrates. Okay? Your body wasn't made for that. Your body wasn't made I'm not saying no carbs. I'm just saying when you load up with carbs, maybe the bread has changed. I know one thing for sure, flour has changed. And then if you add Roundup or whatever, and all the wheat has changed, but I found that even more than that was insulin. It changes your gut. It changes your microbiome. It changes your microbiome. And because the world went silly with fiber took over. When we started talking about cholesterol, fiber took over. Don't eat eggs. Eat cereal. Okay? Because eggs contain cholesterol and cereal contains fiber. And fiber became the pretty boy. Like fiber became, fiber. And I was telling people back then, I said, well, fiber's great if you're a cow. Because you got 4 stomachs to break it down. Okay? But not for a human being. Like all that roughage, your gut wasn't meant for all that roughage. It wasn't meant for all that fiber. And anyway, I know that's not popular, but when I saw patients and they were, they came up with a new term, gluten intolerant. Because when they got checked for celiac, they didn't have celiac, but they said, oh, I'm gluten intolerant. I said, nah, you're really carb intolerant. If you cut out the crappy carbs, watch what happens to your gut. It's amazing what will happen. And I've been doing that for years. I did it for years in my practice. I got people off fiber. You got diverticulosis? I'll tell you why you got it. You didn't get it because you were unlucky. You got it because, and I mean this, 99%, you were a fiberholic. Way too much salad, way too much veggies, way too much seeds and nuts and, you're not a chipmunk. You're not a rabbit. You don't digest like they do. Your intestine wasn't meant for all that roughage. It irritates the roughage, that. But it was amazing when they got on the reset and really just focused on that, how their gut healed up. Their stomach changed because they now were secreting much more acid in the stomach where it belongs, not coming up the esophagus to give you acid reflux. So I read these studies, and I was listening to Robert Kennedy Jr., and I'm interested. I want to listen to this stuff. And I wanted to say, Robert, call me up because I'll show you the other side too. Okay? I agree with you about Roundup and all that. I mean, good luck getting rid of all of it. I don't think it's going to happen, but I want people to try and clean it up. I got no issue with that. I'm on their side. But in the meantime, I'm trying to lower my whole teaching really is to lower people's insulin because of metabolic syndrome and downstream gut problems. We've been bamboozled with fiber. Fiber's overrated. The best fiber is water. You want something good for your gut? Water. You want something good for your gut? Drink coffee. Best fiber in the world. You want to feed? Oh, Dr. Martin, what about feeding my good bacteria? And you get, and they talk about fiber, feeding the good bacteria. And I say, well, coffee will feed your good bacteria better than anything else. You want a pre and postbiotic? Drink coffee. And flush out the toxins with H2O. Yeah, that's what your gut was made for. Not to put down 20 pounds of roughage in there and irritating the lining of the gut. Brought to you by Kellogg's cereals. And people went for it. And then we got all this all this gluten problems. That's not really gluten. Anywho, that was it was an interview that I watched, and it was really good. Okay, I thought I'd comment on it. Harvard number 2. Harvard medical student eats 700 eggs in 1 month and didn't die. His lipids actually improved. 700 eggs. You guys have heard me say this before, but I used to get patients, okay, doc, like you're saying eggs, meat, and cheese? You mean, here's what I would do first, okay? Before I gave them the reset. Okay, I had all the results, and I was talking to them, and I said, okay, you like eggs? Yeah. You like meat? Yeah. You like cheese? Yeah. I said, you're going to love me. You know why? Because for 30 days, that's all you're going to eat. Eggs, meat, and cheese. Okay? And, Doc, here was the question. How many eggs can I eat? I said, I don't care. As many as you want. You know what I know in the back of my head? Is if you have, this is a fact, guys. If you have bacon and eggs in the morning, okay? This has been proven. It'll regulate your blood sugar. And you're not going to get those big spikes. And that's what happens when you have a carby breakfast. Oh, I'm going to have muffin. Oh, Dr. Martin, it's whole wheat or carrot muffin. It's a carrot muffin, Dr. Martin. Isn't that good? Because it's full of carrots and full of fiber. I said, nah. It's going to raise your blood sugar like no tomorrow. And what goes up must come down. And when it comes down, you're going to be hungry again. Dr. Martin, it's oatmeal. I know. And it ain't good for you. You ain't a horse. So why are you eating oats? Fiber? Right? I said have eggs. 700 eggs in a month. Man, oh man. Like, okay. But and then they did his blood work before and after, and his lipids improved. His triglycerides went down, his HDL went up, and they measured LDL too. And they said his LDL went down. I don't care to get your LDL down. That's, to me, is not important. But guys, 700 eggs in a month. A Harvard medical student. Do you think eggs are good for you? You bet your boots they are. Okay? Often called nature's perfect food. Well, yeah, I got it right up there with steak. Okay? So why don't you have steak and eggs? I remember my grandma, grandmas don't know how to say no, do they? But steak and eggs. Okay? I love bacon and eggs. I love sausages and eggs. These are the king's breakfast. This is what you should be doing in the morning. Oh, I get tired of it. Well, then make something different, but make sure it contains eggs and meat and cheese. Okay? Make an omelet. I don't know. But it's just showing you the whole cholesterol craziness. And that got people eating fiber, and it got people away from eating eggs. Or limiting their eggs. Dr. Martin, I can only have 2 eggs a week according to my physician. I said, well, first of all, your physician doesn't know anything about nutrition. That's a sorry. I hate to even tell you that. They don't take nutrition in medical school. How crazy is that? It's crazy. Okay, 700 eggs in 1 month, and their cholesterol. Their lipids were fantastic. His lipids were fantastic. I think it was a him. It was a Harvard medical student. I just love it. Okay, number 3. This had to do with sleep, and this is interesting. We've talked about this. You know, melatonin, so good for you. You don't need to take it as a supplement. Just let your eyes see, get out in sunlight during the day. And number 2, keep your room as black and wear your mask. Cover your eyes. And they shown that's tremendous. It really works. This is another study. If you have a cold room at night, they actually measured this. Having a cold room compared to a warm room, you know what happens when your room is cool? I like to see my breath. I want it cold in my room, okay? And, but I've always said that. Like, it's not like I changed my mind. I said that 40 years ago. You want a good sleep? Keep your room cool. You want a good sleep? Get your room dark. You want a good sleep? Maybe take an Epsom salt bath before you get magnesium, before sleeping. And, don't eat at least 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed. Rest and digest. You don't want your cortisol flying all over the place at night. But this one says when you sleep in a cold room, and they measured it, your insulin resistance goes down. What? Even your insulin resistance goes down. I think it has to do with cortisol. But they measured it. You know what? When I wrote that book, Sun, Steak, and Steel, and Sleep, I meant it. One of the lowest hanging fruits that you can do for yourself is do everything you can to get a good night's sleep. It's the repair time. Your self-cleaning oven goes on, but only when you're sleeping. And your self-cleaning oven in the brain goes on, only when you're sleeping. And I'll tell you, I used to tell my patients this years ago, if you're not sleeping at night, then get a power nap during the day. Like, don't go for 2 hours during the day. Unless you're almost bedridden. But 20 minutes and your brain regenerates. You turn on it's not like sleeping all night, but you're still helping yourself. Because a lot of patients say, well, I don't sleep at night. I don't want to go sleep during the day. I said, you're not sleeping anyway. If you can take 20 minutes during the day, then get it. Okay. How many did I say I had? 2 more. Well, let's leave those. Yeah, let's leave them because I think we can. These are interesting too. Okay, so what did we look at today? Just a review. Gluten schmooten. It's downstream. It's 2 things. Leaky gut. Okay? Leaky gut. And numero duo, insulin resistance in the gut. People are carboholics and they're eating too much fiber too. And it irritates the gut. You weren't built for that. That was from Bobby Kennedy Jr. Well, he was talking about gluten and how wheat has been sprayed. Harvard medical student eats over 700 eggs in a month. and his blood lipids were improved. I love it. And cold room at night. Okay. Guys, Friday is question and answer Friday. Send in those questions. If you want to make sure that I answer your questions, you send it to info@martinclinic.com. info@martinclinic.com, okay? Because sometimes you'll put a question. I see it. Like I'll go on right now and I'll see a question. And if I have time, I might answer it, but most times I don't. So if you want your question answered, would you please send it to info@martinclinic.com. Then it gets put into our list of questions for question and answer Friday. And maybe Monday if we get enough questions. Yeah, I try and answer all of them. Okay? I try and answer all of them. Okay, guys, we love you dearly, and we'll talk to you soon.